Guess what? I wrote a course, and it's called Women Who Lead, and you can find it at www.aimwithus.com. And all you have to do is click on courses, and you and I can spend some really quality time together learning how to make every interaction safe, logical, fun, and memorable. And guess what, guys? It would work for you too. I hope to see you there.
Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. It's another great day to have a great day, and I have a fabulous guest with me all the way from the UK, and I am super excited for us to get to know Stephen a little bit better. But before we do, I need you to follow this podcast. It makes such a difference. Then you get alerts that say, okay, Christie's got a fabulous new guest and great things are getting ready to happen. So hit follow, share it with your friends, subscribe, do it wherever you are listening to this podcast, and recognize that this is your free shot of B12. And we are here to give that to you today. So I have with me Stephen Foster. Stephen is lots of fabulous things. I like to call him a connector of humans, but he's also a believer, an optimist, and he's somebody who chooses to squeeze as much out of life as he possibly can. And he is our guest today. So welcome to Productive Joy, Stephen.
It's a pleasure to be a doctor. Thank you for having me.
Yes, this is going to be a lot of fun. So you and I randomly connected on LinkedIn, which was a pretty cool way of meeting one another. But before we jump into that, I would love for you to convince people in like 30 seconds or less why they really want to listen to this particular episode.
Because I've spent 30 years of my life failing miserably over and over again. And then I started asking people for one golden nugget of wisdom, and that changed my entire life. And I can tell you why on this episode.
Perfect. Okay, so tell us, because I love the concept of what you're doing and had the opportunity to get to share my golden nugget, which was really special. But what brought this to be? You said 30 years of failing. I think we all could say we spend a lifetime failing, but as long as we're failing forward, it's okay, right? I guess. But more.
But some of the time I didn't fail forward. I just stopped and collapsed and wallowed in my own misery, which is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
But yes, I started my first business at 19 and then spent 30 years building businesses and then losing businesses and then having to sleep in my office and running out of money and all that, and then starting again. It's really hard to pick yourself up again at, 40 as I did, and then 48. There was this kind of 7-year cycle that repeated, and it repeats until you've learned the lesson. You get the same lessons in life over and over again, and they get louder and louder and louder if you don't action them. And often that's where your pain is, your fear is. You've got to go in there and solve that problem so you can go to the next level. And I never did. I just went round and round. So at the start of lockdown, I'm living in my office and I run out of money again. It's not a great time to be living in your office. And I had this idea of collecting wisdom, so I just went on that journey, and it took off over lockdown because everybody wanted to share a nugget of wisdom. They felt vulnerable.
Yeah. Okay. And you've heard from people all over the world, all kinds of really fascinating golden nuggets. If you had to pick one, do you have one that's your favorite, or maybe a collection of things that you've learned that you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's what I needed to hear?
Yeah, well, the very first nugget I ever collected was for Warwick Davis. Now, Warwick Davis is a film star. He's a little guy. He played an Ewok in Return of the Jedi in Star Wars, and then he's done all sorts of films. And he was in Harry Potter and all, And he gave me the very first nugget, and that was about living presently in the present moment, and that's always been a theme that we've picked over the nuggets, but. What a great nugget to kick off a business from Warwick Davis, who also played Yoda, I think, in the later Star Wars.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
If you're going to spark off a business, what a great thing. So that nugget was great. The one nugget that's always stood out is that the goal in life is to be happy. We want happiness. We want that happiness feeling, no matter what we do. You buy a car or you buy this or clothes. You're actually ultimately seeking a feeling of happiness. And the best nugget I ever had that is, if you want that happiness feeling, kindness is the route to take you there. So focusing on kindness to people and everybody generates that happiness feeling. And that's free.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
that
mark.
is free. And it's a choice and it's something that we can choose to do every single day and reap the benefit of. Definitely. Okay.
Well,
So I have had the opportunity to you've asked a lot of people about their golden nugget. I've asked a lot of people about what their definition of productive joy would be. And so I want to kind of start there. If you had to describe productive joy, when you hear that phrase, what does it bring to mind?
productive joy. So getting joy from from producing. And I love producing. I love creating. I'm a creator. That's what I do. I love to create a vision and then go and take the action to create that. So productive joy is injecting love emotion into everything I'm doing. If you can do that and you're loving it and you're loving the process of the creation, that's what you need to focus on. Forget the end result. It's just loving the process, even the problems, and injecting those with love. Problem arises, don't go, oh, I've got a problem. No, it's just terrible. It's like, great, what can we do with this?
Yeah.
Where's the opportunity? So that's my definition of what you asked.
I think that's perfect. And it's been fun for me because everybody has a slightly different definition of productive joy. And yet I've yet to have somebody who said it wasn't a choice, right? Like I think productive joy is a choice. Joy is a choice. And something like you were just saying, happiness starts with kindness. That's a choice too. We can be kind of a jerk if we want to be, and it's going to produce something a little different. So I love that. So let's back up a second. It's the pandemic. You have had a couple failed businesses. You're sleeping in your office. It's rough. And you said, you know what? I am just going to go seeking what other people's wisdom might be in this space. So you created a platform, more or less, for people to share their golden nugget. What was your original vision for that? And where has it taken you now, almost 5 years later? Well, I guess 5 years later.
Well, the original vision was actually to create a social media network like Facebook, right, for sharing wisdom, and it's just not happening. You can't compete on technology. It just looks, we spent money doing that, and it didn't work. But what our network has become is almost like a thought network.
Hmm.
So we became then a book publishing company effectively. So I met this guy called Nick Ogden who invented e-commerce. He actually did the very first e-commerce transaction. Like Tim Berners-Lee invented the internet, and Nick Ogden invented e-commerce. And I met with him, and he said, "I love One Golden Nugget. I love what you do." And he goes, "Forget that idea of creating a social media network." He goes, "And write books for people because you've done one. I've done one at that point." He goes, "You're good at it." He goes, and then bring people together to tell stories, co-authors into book under one thing, make books for brands. And this was his idea. And I was like, well, yeah, okay, that sounds good. I'm not going to argue with you. You know more than I do. So
You kind of have some street cred on that. Yeah.
yeah, you invented e-commerce, right? If you
Yeah.
telling me and that's the point, asking for help and asking people, the right people for help, best thing I ever did. So he told me what he thought it was, and I went, yeah, okay, cool. I'm not going to argue. And we did it, and we built it, and now we have, 5 years since the pandemic, an incredible business that produces books and tells stories and networks people together, and it's an amazing thing. Very proud of it.
Yes, well, you should be. So, when you say produce this books, do you walk with the author through the process? Are you helping them get their book out onto paper? I mean,
So
yes.
I'll give you an example. This is one of our books, How to Survive and Thrive. We do that with the founder of Reebok, Joe, who built Reebok. So it's his story of meeting 20 co-authors, and those co-authors then come into the book, and they come on Zoom and we interview them. Then my book team write the piece, put it together. We create the book, then we create marketing initiatives around it. Co-authors then go off and get keynote speaking gigs because they've been in the book. It's just the most amazing thing. They connect it, all of our co-authors connect together. So it's, becoming a co-author with our business then gives you this entry into this network to connect. And that's what I built, out of my mess of all, I somehow managed to attract then the right people I needed to help build this. And for one reason only, that it was now a business based on purpose. And every business I tried to build originally was based on making money. And that doesn't,
Mm.
you just fail. You will fail. You cannot build a business because when it gets tough, and it always gets tough, then you run out of the emotional energy to keep going because it's about money. But if it's about purpose and it's about helping people, and you've got this great mission you're on, the purpose drags you, through those tough moments. So we've expanded massively.
Well, and that's so profound and such an important life lesson. So, listeners, if you were zoning out for a second, come back to us, because the reality is that if your purpose has to be bigger than everything else, and if you are just seeking money, a money making venture, and there is no purpose behind it, it's not going to succeed like it can if you have purpose behind it. I love that you took 30 years of life lessons and said, you know what, I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to do it differently. I am going to take the risk of going out where into spaces I don't know. And then you surrounded yourself by brilliance. I think that's really the key to this, right? You didn't say, okay, I know everything and I'm going to do this by myself. You said, I know a little and I know people who know a little and a lot. And together we're a whole lot better. That's like the true definition of synergy, right?
Yeah, because I'm really terrible at most things, but what I'm really good at is connecting with people and getting to people that you just don't, all sorts of people. I'm not talking just the high level, but it's just but connecting with people on some sort of emotional level where they go, yeah, I quite like what he's doing,
Yeah.
and then a relationship's formed. So I'll drill down to that. But yes, you're right. When you're on purpose and you're truthful and what you're doing is, it has the love emotion about it and that vibration, you attract those quality people to you that want to help.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done. I discovered purpose through a guy called Akhtar Badshaw, who ran Microsoft Philanthropy for Bill Gates for 10 years. I met him and he's now a business partner of ours. And so he taught me about purpose. But so what a man to learn purpose from. I fall over these people all the time. And then you meet somebody who's 19, you go, yeah, this wisdom, that, and you go, oh my God, that's so profound. So collecting wisdom is not some sort of elitist thing. Everybody can teach something, and that's the joy of it. It's amazing.
I think that's the point I want to drive home, is that wisdom doesn't just come from those who have made it, right? I'm putting that in air quotes, whether it's the guy that played Yoda or the man who founded Reebok. Those people have done some things, but you're right. The 19-year-old who hasn't had the opportunity to do big things yet, but has that ability to speak in a way that others can understand, there's just as much wisdom in that. And I think that's what I found fascinating about the WhatsApp group that you have started, which we can talk about, where people are just kind of sharing what's happening in their world or what is getting ready to happen that somebody else might want to be a part of. You are a connector of people, and you just create these spaces where people can shine and flourish and become what they're supposed to, or just share some of the great things that are happening. Is that a lifelong gift that you've had? You said 30 years before you figured it out, but I have a feeling this is something you've done your entire life.
Well, the connecting thing, definitely.
Yeah.
Not necessarily bringing people together, though. It was always, before I was just about making money,
Yeah.
really. So then when you again lose it all, you get to the point where life has beaten you so hard, you actually have to look at it and go, okay, well, let's just tear this apart for a second and have a look at it. What's going wrong here?
Yeah.
And then you start going, well, actually, that bit does work. I'm good at connecting. So actually, I should think about purpose. And then it's like you start building this kind of thing. And that's what I did. So definitely always a connector, but nothing beyond that. It was always just about making money. What a waste of time. So anybody listening to this, especially young people, it's like define your purpose, get into that, and then surround everything around that. Every action you do, the job that you're in, how you treat people around purpose, because
Yeah.
it's a great way to live.
It is. And then the fulfillment is there. You're not constantly seeking something else. You can get good at the thing you're doing and create fulfillment and joy, right? Like that does bring about a feeling of contentment and joy that I think many of us are seeking. And sometimes people think that work and joy have to be mutually exclusive. And I'm kind of here to say, no, they don't. You can live out your purpose in your work as well. And that's truly what you've done. You have found people who are doing that and brought it all together, which is pretty beautiful and kind of rare. for somebody to do it on the scale that you've done it. So, what advice would you have for somebody who is currently sitting in a space where they feel less joy, frustrated? Maybe they are working really, really hard, sleeping in their office, and not like they're listening to this going, yeah, but that can't work for me. What advice would you have for them?
Wake up,
Mm.
wake up, because life is just an illusion. I believe that life, that what you see out there and what you feel is just a reflection of what's going on. That was my case. I discovered that, it was nothing to do with the outside world. It was you have to start internally, and that comes from your thoughts and your feelings, and you've got to get into that space of becoming already where
Mm.
you go. And for
Mm.
me, it's like, well, I want to build a business that changes the world and does, all these amazing things. So I may as well just act and play that out now, because I don't, I'm not really enjoying my current reality. So you have to take responsibility for your situation, whatever it is, because that's your situation. And then you talked about, resistance, frustration rather. Well, that's resistance. So when you're not in acceptance of your situation, you're not in flow, you're resisting. So when you resist, you create more resistance. So you have to get into this space in life of just going, yeah, okay, well, that's how it is. That's cool. Well, what can I learn from it? Right, next thing.
Yeah.
And then you get this fear thing that arrives. Oh, if I'm going to do this, and I'm going to run out of money, and you have to overcome that as well. So for me, it was just an ongoing an ongoing process of just thought, I'm just going to keep improving, and I'm not, you know, we've had so many tough times with Nugget, running out of money, or
Sure.
problems, because that's what it is. That's the journey. So I think coming into full acceptance of what your current situation is, and then going, actually, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to do something else with my life.
Yeah.
Create that intention. It's about intention. It's not making a goal. It's about a spiritual thrust to intention of that's what I'm going to create, and just hanging on.
Well, and I think
And
that's likely what you meant when you said that you're a believer. You're a believer in things. You're a believer in what's happening. Can you expand on that a little bit? When you say you're a believer, what do you believe in?
I have it tattooed on my arm, belief. Well, belief is a mindset. Belief is a vibration of faith that that's what I'm going to create, and nothing's going to stop me doing it. And what life will do is it will come along and it will place people and situations and circumstances into your experience that test that. So that's when belief comes in. It's like, I don't care. You go back to that, you describe that person living in their office, or they don't feel so good at the moment. Get into that belief state, and it's like, I can do. I'm capable of anything I want to do, but
Yeah.
the thought get in the way of that. They
Yeah.
do.
They do, right? And so I heard a couple things in what you just said. And I think the biggest one is that it starts from within, and that you can't look for external people to fix you, right? You have to look within and go, okay, what's going on in here? I recently had a guest, his name's Dr. Greg Stewart, and he wrote a book called I Cubed. And in it, he talks about how when we're in circumstances, if we're faced with something, what happens in our brains is we basically go into our home, right? Our brain, and we go down into the basement where all the trauma lives, and we scoop up some of those negative feelings and we plop them into the situation that we're in right now. Right?
Nice. Yes, we
Yeah, it's
do.
such a great visual for me. I've used it a lot because it just makes sense. So here I am, somebody comes at me with something and it hits me wrong, and I go back to that trauma basement and I scoop something into my current situation, and that's my reaction. And so I get to decide, are these people going to be able to push my buttons? Right? Are these people going to be able to, or this situation going to be able to dictate how I feel in this moment? Or am I going to look internally and go, I don't want to scoop up those negative emotions today. I am going to choose to attack this a little differently. And that's that internal work that we all need to do so that we can show up as our best versions of ourselves. It was just a fascinating word picture that I think applies here. We don't need to be scooping up those negative emotions. We can choose to scoop some of the positive ones instead.
And I would just always urge people to reflect on what they've already overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've solved every problem you've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% of the time, right? We've survived 100% of our bad days.
And you know what the beautiful thing is? Sometimes if you just leave those problems alone and do nothing, they just dissolve.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave that. You don't have to respond to everything. Every problem that arises in your life, especially if it's not your problem, then don't respond to anything. But it's problems, just leave it over there. I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the emotion, the trauma around it then subsides.
Yeah.
And then you can go, oh, well, that was the problem. Okay, well, I know how to do that, or somebody can help me, or work on the creative idea then to solve it. Don't get caught up in the, I'm talking to myself here because it happens to me all the time. Oh my God.
Darn it, when I say these things out loud, that means I probably should be listening to them myself. Yeah, that happens.
Always. That's why you do it. It's always a reminder. So I'm just talking to myself for half an hour.
Well, and I think you are incredible for a lot of different reasons, right? Like you have figured some things out and they weren't easy lessons to learn. You had to walk through the trenches to figure them out. And yet you didn't keep all of that discovery to yourself. You're sharing it with the world and you are bringing people together so that they can share what they've learned with the world as well. And that's a special gift because you could have kept that connector of humans thing to yourself. You could have made it just profit you, but you didn't. You said, I would really like for people to recognize that what they're doing is special too. And then you're bringing people together to write books. And that's awesome. And that is going to change the world. So thank you for listening to all of your talents and putting them out there for everybody. That's pretty great.
Thank you, because, and I've just written it down here, the purpose of life is to find your gift and then give it away.
Yeah. Yeah, because what about the gift if it sits on the shelf?
You use it to help people, and then of course when you do that, it produces this beautiful energy that goes out, and then it ripples out, and then it comes back at you, not from where you sent it, but from somewhere else. The good keeps flowing. So that's the vibe you need to get into.
Oh, yes, we all do. And thanks for that inspiration. So I could talk to you all day, but I know you've got other things you're supposed to be doing right now. And so I have some rapid fire questions for you. Would you be willing to answer those for me?
No.
Darn it. Yes.
No, it's been great talking to you. Fire away.
Right. See ya. Okay. No, please let me ask these questions because I have a feeling that you're going to get I'm going to hear some really fantastic answers. Okay. You ready?
Oh, crack on.
Okay. What's your definition of fun?
Being in flow.
Love that. Love that. And I know what my definition of flow is. Give me yours.
Flow? What's the definition of flow? I don't know. It's just a feeling.
Where things are kind of just cruising along, right? Like I think of it as when I'm my most clear on what I'm supposed to be doing. Like when I think of flow, that's what I think of.
These aren't rapid fire questions.
I know. Sorry. I'm sorry. I get excited. Okay. Rapid fire. I won't ask any more questions. How do you know that you're showing up as your authentic self?
Because I'm being truthful.
Love it. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
I don't. Sometimes I completely fall apart.
Yeah.
Get depressed, cry, and to go for a walk and think my life's over, and then I'll come back to it an hour later and it's all good.
So you do come through it. That's perfect. Okay, last question. And this one will be tough because you have said brilliant things throughout our time together. But if people can only remember one thing from our time in this conversation, what's the one thing you really want to leave them with today?
Right now, the person you are right now is exactly who you're supposed to be. So love and appreciate that person, who you are, and you're doing your best. So don't worry about it. It's all good.
I think somebody definitely needed to hear that today. Maybe that somebody was me. So thank you. And thank you for, again, sharing everything that you're doing. So if people wanted to find you, wanted to find Golden Nugget, wanted to learn more about the books that you're producing, how would they find you?
Yellow Pages. With on the internet.
Not on the internet, but what would be Google?
I just go onegoldennugget.com or look for me on LinkedIn, Stephen Foster, Stephen with a V. Just look for me on LinkedIn. Yeah, One Golden Nugget, or Instagram, One Golden Nugget at One Golden Nugget. We're social. We share wisdom, and just come and hang out.
Yeah. What's your hope in 5 years that One Golden Nugget will be doing?
I'll be walking down the red carpet at a movie premiere. probably LA about what the story of what we done, how we changed the world, and the billions of people we impacted. And you know, yeah, I may as well have a dream like that rather than sat here thinking, "Oh, I'm going to build a little business and help some people, write some books." No, you may as well be outrageous in your dream.
100% of the time. I love that, Stephen. That was perfect. Well, listeners, I am telling you, they just keep getting better. And I am so grateful that I keep running across brilliant people like Stephen. So do me a favor, share this episode. Let the world know that we all have one golden nugget, and there is a collection of them in one place, and you certainly can find that. And I just really want to challenge you to grab something that we said today and use it, because it's your job today and every day to figure out a way to turn fun into action.